mother, she's an Aranda from San Pedro, and her family came in through El Paso, but in like 1920. And my grandparents, Manuelita and Eugenio Aranda, they were already married in Mexico when they came through. And they came with very many relatives. It wasn't just them, it was very many relatives with them. There's so many names. I know them all, but it would take forever. So they came in through El Paso, and then they went to Los Angeles, downtown LA. They started a little grocery store market, and then I think they were there maybe 2 years, and then moved to San Pedro in 1927. So in 1927, coming to San Pedro, they lived here and their entire lives. They lived here on 2nd Street, the 300 block, and then moved up to the 1100 block in their later years of San Pedro. So when they came from Mexico, which was Durango, Chihuahua, they traveled with my grandparents, my grandmother's sister, and their parents also, except for one father, one great-grandfather, he wasn't there. And so in coming through, there was a lot of tuberculosis going on. So there was a lot of illness. So actually, when they did leave, one of the reasons a lot of the families were leaving where they had all the immigrants settled in El Paso was because of the illnesses. So hence, they came into Los Angeles, where, guess what? Tuberculosis was there also. Tuberculosis was just one of the rampant diseases going around at the time. My grandfather left downtown Los Angeles because the authorities were looking for him because they knew he had tuberculosis. So he came to San Pedro, and my grandmother nursed him back to health. So in those travels, that was one of the big things that were attributable to their not being able to work, not being able to hold a job, illnesses going around in the cities. So when he came to San Pedro, though, he got better. My grandfather, Aranda, he got totally better. Ended up having 6 children that all grew up here in San Pedro. And my grandfather, Eugenio Aranda, he worked for the canneries, where they lived down in the 300 block of 2nd Street. And they lived across the street from the projects. And my grandmother, what she did, she raised chickens and she took in boarders. And I always remember my mom saying, oh, the boarders were always somebody different and funny, but my mom said she didn't like it. She didn't like boarders. She wanted just their family there. But as survival, they had to do these things. Well, my grandmother also would feed the public, not just any public, but the ones in need, the hobos. That's what they called them back then. They weren't homeless, they were hobos. And they would have wasn't a soup kitchen, but she would make big enough meals that they knew Manuelita Aranda would have a meal, and they knew where to come.